Alright, so it's Morton Joe 245 here. Today we're taking a look at the evolution of the Stormtrooper figure in 3¾ inch scale, so stay tuned. So this is my first Star Wars video, and not necessarily a review. I'll do some reviews, but today I decided to do an evolution of a 3¾ inch Stormtrooper here. As you can see, I got from 1978 all the way to, I think that one of these is 2020. I ain't sure, but it's a newer one. But now I do have more Stormtroopers in this, but this is a general selection of ones of the years that I actually own and do have. And I also have some 6-inch Black Series Stormtroopers. I didn't include those because this is 3¾ inch scale. So we're gonna take a look at from the oldest all the way to the newest. So let's get started with the oldest. So this is my original Stormtrooper from 1978. The Kenner figure, and this one only had 4 points of articulation. Most Star Wars figures had 5, but as you can see, the head on this figure is non-articulated. And as you can see, pretty cool. He's a little discolored, because white figures tend to get discolored over time. But this is the one I display with my generic my Star Wars figures. I actually have 2 of this figure. I have one that I display in my do-back here. That's a little more yellow than this one, so that's why. So this one's kind of yellow. It looks more like a sand trooper, so I display him in the do-back. But so pretty generic. Only, like I said, 4 points of articulation. Pretty standard. Now he did have a blaster. Unfortunately, I don't have the blaster. But I mean, the blaster they used for this figure was very generic. They used it a lot in this old line from the late 70s, early 80s. And you see, but it's not a bad figure though. I mean, it looks like a Stormtrooper, but like I said, just not very posable. I mean, but still, very nostalgic, very cool figure. On down, in between, the original line from the 70s and 80s, and then there was a big gap in between for Star Wars toys. And now there's a little line that most people don't think about that was before Power of the Force 2, and it's this line called Bendums, in which are bendy figures. They have like metal wires and stuff in them. But, they were very short lived. But they made some Star Wars figures, and I actually have the Bendum Stormtrooper here, and which I've had this thing for a long time. I've had this thing since my childhood. But as you can see, I mean, it's a bendy figure. It's a chunk of rubber with wires in it, and this is the only Bendums I actually own. Now it is a little bit taller than 3¾ inch, but I still include it in this video because I display with my 3¾ inch figures. So, and like I said, there weren't very many of these. Let me bring in my vintage one here. You can see there's trying to mimic the look of the original Stormtrooper from the 70s, as you can see. But it's just this is a much better figure in my opinion. But as you can see, I need to clean this up a little bit. He's a little bit dirty. There's some paint on his arm right there. I mean, I did get this used, so which these didn't have any kind of accessories either. But they made several these Bendums. They made several characters actually. Luke Skywalker was the only one to actually have a weapon in his hand, a lightsaber. But as you can see, his arms are in a his. I don't think he can really bend his arms in a where they should be. They're always in a thing like this, which is kind of weird. I mean, these were like I said, they were weird, but I mean, I still like this thing all right. Basically, kind of a cool display piece. It's a kind of a short-lived kind of line. Okay, so going down in 1995, we got the first new proper Stormtrooper figure in the form of the Power of the Force 2 line Stormtrooper. Now, as you can see, they still haven't really got away from the 5 points of articulation, but one point that this figure does actually a little bit better than the vintage one is he does actually have an articulated head. I mean, it's kind of not a very good articulated head, but still, I mean, he's got 1 more point of articulation that the vintage figure does not have. And as you can see, he dropped one of them a minute ago, but he's got 2 weapons. He's got the I can't remember the name off the top of my head, E11 blaster, and this longer one I can't remember what it's called either. But and you can see the blasters in this line were really big and chunky, compared to later versions. And this figure's in a weird pose too. It's hard to get him to stand. But see, bringing the first two versions here, as you can see. I mean, you can see we got a little bit of update here. Still kind of very minor articulation, but like I said, but we got one more point, so a little better over the vintage figure. But yeah, I think I still prefer the vintage one over this one. Just nostalgic, I guess. But see, I need to clean this one up a little bit too. He's a little bit dirty, but see, I mean, it looks like a stormtrooper. I mean, I mean, these figures were weird and they were overly big, and so and the stormtroopers kind of beefed out. In the later figures, they kind of toned us down a little bit, but these earlier ones look like they were on steroids. But I mean, these were fun toys though. I mean, this is one of my childhood figures right here too. Now we're at 1999, and we have a new version of the Power Force 2 line Stormtrooper. As you can see, it's a completely different mold. And now this ain't the standard. There was a standard white version of this figure. This is based off the comic book version. I don't have the standard white one, so that's why I'm using this one. But because the comic book Stormtroopers had a lot of like blue shading on their armor, and the black parts of their helmet were red right there. So, but it's the same figure, just with a little bit different uh, paint deco as the other one. But as you can see, this one is actually not bad. It's actually got more articulation than the previous ones. Now, although the articulation points on this figure are kind of weird and clunky, but as you can see, this one's got a ball hinged. Not a ball joint. A ball joint is a little bit different. This is got a ball hinge. So he's got a little more articulation than all the previous versions. He's got a swivel in the waist. As you can see, he's got a hinge at his elbow there, like a swivel there too. I don't think there's no hinge there. No, I think it's just just a swivel. I think because I'll break the arm off if I try to bend it down. But as you can see, I think this arm does swivel too. See, got a little bit of leg articulation here. Got like a swivel joint right there. Well, it's at an odd cut though too, as you can see. And got a little bit of knee articulation, but it bends his leg sideways. So I mean, you can't really get a lot of poses out of this figure. And one thing I didn't like about this figure is his holster isn't working. You can't put nothing in there. And unfortunately, I don't have the accessory that came with this either. I can't remember if I got. I can't remember if I got this figure new or if I got it used. I mean, I've had this thing for a long time, so I can't remember exactly where I got it. But still pretty cool. The articulation could be better, but I mean, it's not bad though. I mean, this was pretty good for the time. All right, going on the road in 2005. I'm not sure exactly what line this Stormtrooper came from, but as you can see, it's got better articulation than the previous. We keep getting a lot more articulation. So you got a ball joint head, hinge at the shoulder and at the elbow, waist articulation at his waist. Still a swivel at the leg, not a hinge yet, but better knee articulation at least. When you bend his knee, it ain't sideways. And he does have a working holster, so that's another benefit. Now this pistol is not actually his. This is an extra pistol I had from a Death Trooper, I think. I just put it in his hands. I wouldn't lose it. And this one has a removable helmet too, as you can see. Now I'm not sure who exactly that's supposed to be underneath here, but it's got like a black skull cap on it. Now there's a little bit of paint wear on the nose there too. They done this with made some like Jango Fett clone heads that had like this black skull cap on them too. I got a few of those somewhere, but they usually just keep the helmet on because it looks better. I believe this is the first vintage collection one. I don't think there was a Stormtrooper in the Saga collection. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, let me know in the comments if there was one. But this is the vintage collection, I believe. And now this is actually a pretty good figure. And now the newer ones actually are a lot better than this. But I mean, this was really good for when it came out. And as you can see, it's got that kind of that small blaster. Yeah, I got tons of these laying around. But as you can see, the articulation of this figure is much better. This has got a ball joint, actually, not a hinge. You can see pretty good motion and really good articulation for this figure. So you got a hinge at the shoulder there and his elbow. He's got articulation in his waist. A lot better articulation in his hips. And you can bend his knee without it going sideways like on that other one. And pretty nice figure actually. One of my favorite ones. Now we have the Rebels Stormtrooper, and so I'm not sure what date this figure came out, but now this one ain't the standard Stormtrooper. This is actually Kanan in the Stormtrooper disguise. I don't have the standard version, but when you got his helmet on, he just looks like a Stormtrooper. This one had a pauldron too. Actually, I got two of these. I got one of them still on card, and this one I took the pauldron off of, kind of make a season 2 version of Kanan in the Stormtrooper armor. But as you can see, he's got his blaster, which is actually a new mold compared to the other ones. This is more based like on the animation model, I believe. And now we're back down to 5 points of articulation, which is what they did for the Rebels figures. But I mean, which wasn't too bad. It actually fit these figures really good, actually. But you got a ball joint at the head, swivel at both arms and at both legs. So you're very, retro style articulation, but not bad. The very last one here is the new vintage collection Stormtrooper. Which now this one is not the standard model one. This is the carbonized Remnant Stormtrooper, which is the same mold, just different colors and stuff. Which I really like this Remnant Stormtrooper. I mean, it looks really cool, and so here's compared to the older vintage collection. You see, I mean, how much more accurate this one is compared to the older style, and better articulation too. You got ball joint at the head, hinge at the shoulder, hinge at the wrist, and hinge at the elbow, and also a hinge at the wrist there, which is was not on the other style. So you can get pretty good poses out of the wrist there. So he's got waist articulation at his hips, and good knee articulation too, and also articulation at his ankles. So and the blaster is actually a lot more accurate looking to the E11 than any of the previous uh, versions, and you can get some pretty good two-handed poses with this too. So this is probably my favorite one. Just one reason because I just like the look of the Remnant Stormtrooper from The Mandalorian, but the really really cool figure. Now mine has got it's got a little bit of a bad paint job there on the helmet, but you can see the chevron thing is offset a little bit. But I mean, if you're looking from afar, you're not really gonna notice that. But still, probably one of my favorite figures, in my collection. So here they all lined up again, and now I didn't have them all lined up in the background while I was doing this because they kept falling over, and it was kind of annoying, so I had to retake a bunch of times. But as you can see, pretty cool evolution. You can see how better they got over time with details and articulation. Now which one is my least favorite? I would probably say that Bendham's one right there because that figure is just weird, But then my favorite one is probably that Remnant Stormtrooper on the end. Then after it would be the vintage one there, and then probably the other vintage collection by Rebels Stormtrooper right there. Then the one beside it, then the Rebels one, then that blue one, and then probably uh, the first Power of the Force one, and then the Bendham's one. But so if you got this video and see more Evolution, give me a thumbs up. That help me out a lot, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till next time.